Okay, so I'm rolling up on it, and so far I think it's going to be pretty cool. There it is, right there. And I picked a Saturday because, of course, there's no activity here. I think that'd make a nice, cool little painting. We're going to check it out. Hey everybody, it's Bruce. So today's challenge is going to be hopefully not getting rained on, because there's a high threat of rain today, obviously. And I'm going to do my best to knock this out. Going to do like a 6x8, and I'll be painting the gas pumps over here. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try my, I like doing a technique where I block it all in with a dark umber, and then wipe out my highlights and midtones, and that establishes the value scale. And especially because threat of rain, I can nail things down quickly, and we'll see how it goes. So let's get started. Bye. Now what I've done here, because I don't have a 6x8 panel with me that I thought I did, I'm just taking an 8x10, scribed off a line, and I'll just use this portion right up here. And yeah, I could do it 8x10, but like I was saying, I want to try to expedite this and make sure I get it done before I get rained on. And that's what we're going to do. Very useful technique, actually. And also this kind of raises it up a bit, so I'm not painting my 6x8 way down here, having the panel leaning there. Now probably what I'm going to do is modify, get a panel, modify it to a little shelf ledge, so when I do 6x8s I can insert that while I'm painting, so it raise up the panel this high rather than way down here. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to try to get most of it done with this selection of brushes. For my medium, I'll be using Gamblin Refined Linseed Oil. Okay, started out just with mass tone, just getting a generic little, let me pan over, see if you can see a little bit. And just get some general placement of my darks. And I like it a lot, so now I'm going to switch to a little turpentine, start wiping some highlights. Hey everybody, hope you're enjoying the video so far. This technique is just so really useful. I've done it many times in my painting, and I really urge you to try it. You can also, of course, try it in different colors, that sort of thing. You don't have to use the umber like I do. I just like more of a naturalistic sort of look to my paintings. I'm not really usually a high-keyed or super colorful painter that way. And the ruler, I don't use it all the time when I paint urban things, but it really comes in handy for pulling out straight lines. You can do it with a brush too, but this really facilitates nicely. And you'll see me in a moment use the brush to compare to make sure it's somewhat parallel, obviously, to the sides of, there I go, checking to make sure it's parallel to the sides of the panel. You don't want things, I mean, it is construction, human construction, so it can't be all wonky and that sort of thing. And just love pulling out these highlights on things, because you really get a sense of the look of the painting as it's coming along. So in just a moment, we're going to get back to some on-site commentary, so I'll be coming back at you. So I'm at 15 minutes here, so you can see how this technique can really get the bones down quickly. And because there's a little oil in here, of course it's not going to dry super quick, but that's okay. It's an umber, so it can get into other colors a little bit. If you apply the other colors where you need to be more chromatic, and just lay that right on top. If there's bright sunshine out here, it might tack up a bit, but I'm expecting it to be still a little wet when I go to put color on. But in this scene, it's very urban and beat down kind of color scenario, so I'm not too concerned with effects like that happening. They do happen. The key here is going to be, when I mix up paint to put on top, is to mix it up and lay it on top like I'm buttering bread. So I'm going to work on a few little details up in here with the top of the pumps.
And you can also see that I've drawn through some shapes because they're the main bones of the composition. Finer details I can pull back out as needed. And also for this piece, I'm just going to work with a primary palette for speed and efficiency, and I'm going to work with ultramarine blue, titanium white, of course, umber, the burnt umber, cad yellow pale, and cad red light. And it's kind of a muted palette anyway, so I'm more concerned with the values and such. Now when I apply these strokes, I'm not just scrubbing it in, filling it in. I'm trying to have some interest in there, and I'll do that in the beginning. If I feel I need to smooth it out later, I can, but I want this to be very, very textural and feel like it has some age and it's been beat up. I mean, it's Public Works Department. It's exposed to the elements, and that's what I'm trying to suggest.
Yeah, here I am again. So yes, it is very important to try to somewhat mix up your strokes a bit, depending on what you're painting, to kind of help you out in suggesting detail without actually painting detail. And the flat brushes really come in handy for applying these little bits and pieces I'm doing to the piping and such. And technically, when I blocked in that tank, got a little too oily, so later on in the painting I wasn't able to lay paint like I wanted to. I could have buffed that off, but kind of was starting to rain towards the end of the uh, session here, so I'll have to work on that later. It was just a study. Okay, here we go for more commentary.
Now I'm kind of blocking in over here under the fuel tank, mixing just a little more blue and umber into the mixture, and lightly, I was applying some pressure here, but lightly just dancing over that previous umber sketch. Yes, you're going to break up some shapes that you've already created, but you can reestablish those. And kind of just going for the impression of the scene. This is obviously a very consuming subject, but I wanted to see if I could abstract out a little bit of the shape and still retain some realism, and I'm liking it so far. There's some aspects I really like and some I don't at the moment, but it's of course not even remotely close to being, I wouldn't say done, but even in sketch form where I want it for a sketch. I'm just playing now with some textures, brushwork textures, to suggest things on the pavement, stains and that sort of thing. And as I establish colors around, like when I put this color in, I was thinking, is that going to be okay and everything? Now that I have some comparison and where I see pavement that I like and everything, now I can judge better and make adjustments, but I've nailed pretty much 80% of it. Now I can fine tune it. The key is going to be putting in some of these oil stain areas that tend to be around places like this, and just suggesting some here and there. Fine tune them later. Liking the gist of the scene, and again, painting on a scale that you feel you can achieve the result you want. And I think I was kind of dictated a little bit, like I said, by the weather, and so probably would have gone to an 8x10, but just wanted to try to practice more broad shapes and pieces of detail to get a visual gist of the scene and practice that in case I ever had to use that in a fast situation in terms of catching a weather effect or something. So now I'm just kind of putting in some piping, just get some, and then when I paint back here, I'll cut back around those shapes and clean them up, and it'll be nice. I use floater frames, so I'm not too concerned with this being so close to the edge. I tend to do that a lot because I know I just like chopping up shapes like that. So letting it get dirty a little bit with the previous underlayer, and then I can clean up some more chromatically intense here and there to pull it out. When you get back from this, which I'll do in a few minutes here because I'm almost going to be wrapping it up, you'll see how it reads from the proper viewing distance, which I want to be around about 3 feet. I'm at about 1.5 right now, and I'm really kind of liking how it's going. Getting up some ultramarine blue, some white in previous mixtures to do the highlight on top of these protecting piping around the pumps. Just suggesting. And it's fun. I mean, you know, yes, it's going to need help, but just touching a few highlights here and there. Now I'll reestablish some darks and I should be looking okay. All this reflective material is really, really tricky. I mean, there's no way around it. Right here, as it turns, bit of a shadow under. There we go. Now, you don't need the ruler, but it does help make a clean line. Lots of bits of information here. And even though it's cloudy, it's kind of brightening up quite a bit. It's probably about 25% brighter than it was.
So yes, I really do enjoy putting that lighter tone paint against the dark. You really get some automatic soft edges on the piping, and then you can add more stronger color to bring them out in 3 dimensions. So I want to thank you for joining me. Leave your comments if you have any questions about techniques, all that sort of thing, and I'll get back to you. So take care. Here we go. Finish it up.
All right, everybody, this concludes this plein air adventure. I'm at right at an hour. Just wanted to come out and do a quick little study with the technique that I mentioned earlier in the video, and I think it came out pretty well for a little sketch. Very complicated subject matter, so there was a lot to pay attention to, and I purposely did that because I want to learn, grow, and try new things. Not everything is meant to be a finished painting when you come outdoors to paint, or paint in general. You should be challenging yourself to try new things. So that's what I did today, and I want to thank you for joining me. Until next time, bye.